Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam damai sejahtera bagi kita semua. Since we have a lot of participants across continents, so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. All of the distinguished guests, Ibu Mashita from the Ministry of Finance, Ibu Kari Turk from the World Bank Jakarta Timor Leste office, all of the LPDP leaders, distinguished speakers, Paniti, Alda, and Bramka, and of course, our aspiring young professionals. My name is Fajar from the Ministry of Finance, and it is my great pleasure to welcome all of you to this sharing session on the World Bank Group Young Professionals Program, jointly hosted by the Ministry of Finance, LPDP, and the World Bank. Before we begin, I would like to emphasize that today's session matters, not just to prepare your YP applications, but to amplify Indonesia's contribution in the global stage, as we will hear some motivation from Ibu Mashita and Ibu Kari as introduction. And later, we will explore the YP process through panel discussions with Paniti, Alda, and Bramka. To help us to open today's event, I'm honored to introduce two distinguished speakers, Ibu Mashita Kristalin and Ibu Caroline Turk. Ibu Mashita currently serves as a Director General of newly established unit within the Ministry of Finance, the DG of Financial Sector Stability and Development. She holds a master's degree from the Australian National University and a PhD from Claremont Graduate University, the United States. About 10 years ago, she served as a World Bank staff member, supporting the Ministry of Finance Indonesia on macroeconomic issues. She is an economist and policy leader who has consistently worked to elevate Indonesia's in global stage, while also mentoring the next generation of talent, many of whom may be in this virtual room today. Please join me in welcoming Ibu Mashita to deliver her opening remarks. Please, Ibu, the stage is yours.
Terima kasih Mas Fajar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera buat kita semua. Salam Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Saya bicara bahasa Indonesia ya, karena saya yakin yang menyaksikan hari ini sebagian besar orang Indonesia, kecuali Bu Kerry dan juga Paniti yang nanti di sesi berikutnya. Tapi perkenankan saya untuk menyambut adik-adik semua masa depan Indonesia. Hari ini saya ingin berbicara bukan sebagai Direktur Jenderal di Kementerian Keuangan, tapi saya ingin bicara sebagai salah satu orang Indonesia yang bangga dengan lulusan LPDP, atau di sini juga ada beberapa lulusan di luar lulusan LPDP yang memang merupakan masa depan Indonesia. Kita sering mendengar bahwa kekuatan terbesar suatu bangsa, Indonesia tidak terkecuali, itu bukan hanya sumber daya alam, tapi yang paling utama, terutama di era sekarang di mana informasi dan teknologi cepat sekali berubah, itu adalah sumber daya manusia itu sendiri. Sejarah kita membuktikan bangsa kita selalu bangkit karena keberanian, kecerdikan, kerja keras dari manusia-manusianya. Hari ini saya ingin bicara langsung kepada adik-adik generasi muda Indonesia untuk menitipkan cita-cita Indonesia agar menjadi negara maju melalui kualitas human capital kita. Teman-teman semuanya, adik-adikku, dunia sedang berubah cepat. Tentu kita sering melihat berita ya, banyak perubahan baik di geopolitik maupun geoekonomi. Kita juga melihat ada perubahan iklim, tadi saya sudah sampaikan teknologi, kemudian ketidaksetaraan, dan semua tantangan ini tidak mengenal batas negara atau batas kontinen lagi. Karena itu Indonesia butuh putra-putri terbaiknya untuk hadir secara global, tidak hanya menangani isu-isu domestik, tapi juga bisa berdiri sejajar di panggung internasional, tidak menjadi penonton, kita berada di tengah-tengah meja yang besar dalam pengambilan keputusan. Namun realitasnya, jumlah orang Indonesia di lembaga-lembaga global itu masih sangat sedikit. Hari ini kita berbicara mengenai Bank Dunia, nanti kita akan ada sesi lain yang lebih regional dengan Asian Development Bank, kemudian ada juga dengan AIIB dan ISDB, kemudian dengan New Development Bank juga yang dari BRICS. sedikit sekali jumlah orang Indonesia yang bekerja di institusi seperti ini. Di World Bank sendiri dari 20.000 pegawai hanya sekitar 267 orang saja yang berasal dari Indonesia. Bandingkan dengan ukuran negara kita yang merupakan negara dengan populasi keempat terbesar di dunia ya. Dan bahkan Indonesia juga masuk ke dalam jajaran G20, yaitu negara-negara dengan size ekonomi terbesar 20 di dunia. Artinya kita perlu mempercepat aksi kita untuk menjadi salah satu negara yang lebih visible lagi di mata dunia. Saya ingin generasi baru, adik-adik, meneruskan cita-cita generasi yang sebelumnya. Mungkin boleh dikatakan kami di Kementerian Keuangan akan memfasilitasi terutama dari Dirjen Stabilitas dan Pengembangan Sektor Keuangan karena international cooperation dan berhubungan dengan berbagai MDBs itu adalah merupakan salah satu dari tugas dan tanggung jawab kami. Saya ingin adik-adik menjadi generasi yang hadir di panggung dunia. Karena saat adik-adik semua nanti menjadi pengambil keputusan, baik itu di Indonesia levelnya, atau di regional, atau di internasional, adik-adik semua bisa membawa serta nilai budaya dan kepentingan Indonesia. Hari ini Ibu Kerry, Pak Mas Fajar, dan teman-teman akan memperkenalkan salah satu program yang profesional di World Bank. Ini semacam manajemen trainee kalau di Indonesia. Ini adalah program yang sangat ketat, kompetitif, penuh tantangan. Namun jika berhasil masuk, tentu ini adalah program di mana para pemimpin Bank Dunia mulai dicetak. Namun tentu tidak menutup kemungkinan setelah program YP, adik-adik bisa bekerja atau melanjutkan karir di tempat yang lain juga. Dan kita ingin semua orang bertemu dengan talenta terbaik di dunia, bekerja pada isu-isu yang mempengaruhi jutaan orang, sambil membangun jejaring global yang pada akhirnya itu merupakan sekolah kepemimpinan yang tidak ternilai, dan juga mudah-mudahan jika adik-adik sudah masuk, bisa membawa lagi adik-adiknya untuk ikut masuk, sehingga kita mendapatkan efek yang namanya flying geese model gitu ya. Satu orang maju membawa dua orang membawa empat, dan seterusnya hingga orang Indonesia banyak yang masuk di kancah global. Tapi saya juga ingin menekankan sesuatu. Pengalaman kita bekerja, termasuk pengalaman bekerja di internasional, itu bukan tujuan akhir. Itu salah satu jalan. Saya melihat ini sebagai jalan pulang. Jalan pulang untuk memperkuat Indonesia, karena sejatinya kita membangun karir, baik global maupun domestik, bukan hanya untuk diri kita, tapi juga untuk bisa pada satu saat membawa pulang ilmu, pengalaman, dan jejaring kita untuk mempercepat kemajuan bangsa. Gunakan kesempatan ini, mereka atau nanti teman-teman bisa berpikir secara global, tapi tetap berhati Indonesia, bisa berdiri di New York atau Washington. Mas Fajar ini adalah lulusan Chicago gitu ya, tapi tidak lupa tanah airnya yang ada di Jakarta, Surabaya, Makassar, Padang, dan Jayapura. Indonesia membutuhkan anak muda yang tidak hanya berkompetisi, tapi juga bisa mengabdi. Jadi pesan saya sederhana saja, please gunakan kesempatan ini, mendaftar jika tertarik, lakukan dengan sepenuh hati, persiapan, CV, dan lain sebagainya. Tulis cerita Anda mengenai Indonesia dengan bangga, dan tunjukkan juga bahwa Indonesia punya talenta yang bisa bersaing dengan siapapun di dunia. Namun jika tidak terpilih dalam kesempatan kali ini, tentu jangan patah semangat, karena dalam setiap kesempatan itu kadang-kadang kita tidak berhasil di first try, tapi di yang kedua, ketiga, atau bahkan justru kita bisa mendapatkan kesempatan kerja lain setelah proses ini. Saya percaya adik-adik akan bisa melenting tinggi, baik itu di Bank Dunia atau dimanapun karir yang kalian ingin capai. Saya percaya pada kecerdasan, semangat, dan keberanian generasi muda Indonesia. Ayo kita buktikan kalau Indonesia tidak hanya besar dari jumlah penduduk, tapi memang kita memiliki human capital yang tinggi. Ketika melangkah ke dunia internasional, jangan lupa untuk kembali. Kembali itu tidak hanya fisik, tapi juga kembali secara hati dan pemikiran, karena kekuatan sejati kita ada di talenta dan human capital. Terima kasih dan selamat berjuang. Jangan lupa persiapkan diri adik-adik dengan maksimal. Kami akan bantu fasilitasi nanti yang lulus seleksi pertama untuk persiapan wawancara. Bisa menghubungi kita lagi. Kita akan mengadakan seminar lain untuk membantu memandu adik-adik di setiap proses dari aplikasi ini. Saya tutup. Semoga acara hari ini lancar. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih. Thank you, Ibu, for your insightful remarks in elevating Indonesia's role in global stage. So I think that it's not about individual goal, but also collective goal by bringing experience, wisdom, and network for better Indonesia in the future. And now we are also privileged to hear from Ibu Caroline Turk, the World Bank Country Director for Indonesia in Timor-Leste. She holds both undergraduate and postgraduate degrees from the University of Cambridge. Since joining the World Bank in '98, Ibu Carrie has served a long and impactful career in various leadership across regions, including Rwanda, Ethiopia, Vietnam, and now Indonesia. Please welcome Ibu Carrie Turk for her keynote speech.
Thank you very much, Pak Fajar and Ibu Masita, for inviting me to talk to this very inspiring group of young Indonesian people. I'm really delighted to be here today. Unfortunately, and this is my big failing, I don't speak very good Bahasa, so I don't quite know exactly what Bu Masita has just said. So I may end up repeating some of the points that she made. But let me just state, and I think this is perhaps a repeat of what Bu Masita said, why I'm so pleased to be here. The World Bank takes very seriously the recruitment of new talent into the organization. We believe that constant refreshing of the World Bank talent with cohorts of young people who are talented, well-educated, have some work experience, is an extremely important part of keeping the World Bank relevant in today's very fast-changing world. The modern world is aggressively globalized, and we like to see young people from all around the world joining the World Bank. We are the World Bank, and we like to have people from across the world. And I'm particularly keen, I have to say, of course, I'm a bit biased. I'm based in Jakarta. I'm working on Indonesia. We'd particularly like to see more Indonesians. There are relatively few Indonesians in the World Bank outside the Jakarta office, where we have a lot of Indonesian young people working. But at international levels, we have relatively few Indonesians relative to other populations. And I would like to encourage all of you who are interested in a global career, in a career that takes on board really many of the challenges of the modern globalized economy. Any of you who are interested in working in that environment and trying to resolve some of the biggest problems and developmental challenges in the world today, to really consider carefully the opportunity that the Young Professionals Program may give you. A couple of words about the Young Professionals Program. I'm going to say first a bit about the Young Professionals Program, then I'm going to give you a flavor of my own career. Obviously, you can see I'm quite old, so I've had a long career, and just to give you an idea of what kind of careers we have. I also have some colleagues joining me who are young professionals themselves and who could answer questions about what it's like to be a young professional. So that's what I want to talk about. First of all, just as a highlight, we have in the World Bank, we've changed the Young Professionals Program has been a bit revamped, I would say, this year. Some of the guidance has been changed. I will share with Bu Masita after this discussion. I will share with her a presentation that I've got internally on the new processes and procedures of the Young Professionals Program and what it seeks to achieve. I need to convert it into a PDF format. That's why I haven't shared it yet, but I only received it first thing this morning. But she can forward it on to you. She can share that information sheet with you. The scheme is designed to attract young talent from around the world. Something new that we've done this year is removed the age limit. Previously, you had to apply before you were 32. That age limit has now gone. The expectation is that applicants will have postgraduate degrees, either master's degrees or PhDs, and that they will have some work experience, somewhere between 2 to 6 years work experience is the kind of thing that our recruiters are looking for. And that experience doesn't necessarily have to have come from the development world. I think the World Bank is increasingly interested in attracting diverse talents. Maybe 30 years ago, you would have seen that most people like myself would have been economists who are recruited into the World Bank. I didn't join as a young professional, but I have a kind of a slightly mainstream profile of being an economist and doing some of the kind of core work of the World Bank in my career. Now our catchment is broader. We have young professionals who are lawyers, who are engineers, who are medical doctors, who come from education backgrounds. And of course, we still have many economists who join the World Bank. So it's not as narrow, I would say, as it used to be. There's a time frame, which again is in the presentation that I'll share with Bu Masita later. And you can see exactly what is expected at different stages of that journey. But the process starts at the end of September when applications close, and the whole process should be completed, I think, by the end of January, with a view to getting young professionals to start in September, October time. And then those young professionals do 3 stints over a 24-month period of rotating different activities. So assignment in a country office, assignment in a corporate function, assignment in operational functions as well. So it gives you a good insight into the breadth of the World Bank work, and young professionals are assigned mentors from senior staff, so you're able to get this broad perspective on what we do. The original 2 years, I believe, is a temporary job, and then after that you get the opportunity to apply for 5-year assignments. So I think it's a really, really good introduction to what the World Bank does. It's an organization that is constantly evolving to remain relevant in an ever-changing world. And, coming to perhaps my own experience, I've been in the World Bank now for 26, going on 27 years, and had many, many different jobs. I think what I have appreciated about a career in the World Bank is the ability to be exposed to a huge range of different situations that exist around our world, to step out of my bubble. I'm British by background, step out of my British bubble and really see the world and see the diversity of challenges that exist in the world and be part of finding solutions to many of those challenges. I started as an economist. I'm actually a microeconomist, poverty economist by background, and started off doing technical poverty analytics. Some of you may know the poverty economists in our team. We, in most offices, have poverty economists who work with household survey data and increasingly big data sets to assess poverty dynamics, trends in poverty, poverty reduction, and assess the impact of policies on inclusion and poverty reduction. And that's largely what I was doing. My first field assignment was in Vietnam. I then moved to Washington. I actually moved professional families at that point. I managed a unit in the bank that was focused on social development at that point. In the Europe and Central Asia region. I then worked on one of the World Bank's flagship reports called the World Development Report. Some of you may be familiar. I worked on the World Development Report on gender equality. I then moved out of kind of technical work, where I was writing papers, writing books, performing analytical work myself, into a more country management kind of role. I moved to Rwanda and managed the office there. And then I moved on to Ethiopia and directed the office there, in addition to the offices in Sudan, South Sudan, and Eritrea, which provided very interesting insights into the kind of nature of fragility, particularly Sudan and South Sudan are very complicated countries. One was in the middle of a civil war, the other had a revolution during my time there. So we were managing all of that with our teams and trying to maintain the dialogue with the government at the same time. Then moved on to Vietnam, where I was the director, again responsible for all of the World Bank dialogue and operations in Vietnam. Now in Indonesia, very much enjoying my time in Jakarta, responsible for leading on behalf of the World Bank all of the dialogue, all of the operations, all of the analytical work with the government of Indonesia through our primary client, who is the Ministry of Finance. And that is true in most countries. Our primary client is either Ministry of Finance or the central bank, state bank. And I also cover Timor-Leste as well. So I have another office in Timor-Leste, which reports into me here in Jakarta. So all in all, it's a career that has exposed me to many different sectors. As a country director, for example, I have oversight over the entire portfolio, whether that's on hydropower, whether it's on road development, whether it's on our big support to the health sector, whether it's on trade issues and economic and structural reforms in the economy, whether it's on the environment, on protecting the oceans, protecting the forests. My remit covers all of that now. So you can imagine that, okay, I'm an economist by background. I'm not an expert on all of these other things, but I am exposed to all of these issues on a daily basis because I'm responsible for deciding whether or not we will put financing into some of these areas. So I have to constantly challenge myself to understand a huge range of issues across many different sectors. And I think if I were to summarize, this is probably the most valuable thing about working from the World Bank from my personal perspective. Every day of 27 years, I have learned something. Every day of 27 years, I have been challenged to think slightly differently or to consider issues that I haven't encountered before. And that kind of lifelong learning has been very stimulating to me. It has kept me curious throughout my career. And it means that I have never been stuck in a rut. So let me kind of conclude with that. I hope that gives you a flavor of the kind of career that you might be able to expect if you decide to move into a multilateral development bank. The World Bank is slightly different from the other banks that Bumasita mentioned. We are the World Bank. We work in all regions. The members of the World Bank come from across the globe, rather than being a regional development bank. Obviously, Asian Development Bank has an extensive program throughout Asia, Central Asia. AIIB has some activities very often in partnership with the World Bank because they have a different structure. So those are also interesting places to work, but they are not global. We are the only World Bank. So if you're interested in that broader perspective, I think that's something that you might want to consider. I don't know whether we have time for my YP colleagues to come in and just say a couple of words about their experience. I refer back to Pafaja to see whether that is possible or not. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. And I wish you, any of you who are applying, I wish you very, very good luck with your applications.
Thank you so much, Ibu Kerry. It's such an insightful story of your career. I hope it's inspired a lot of us here. So for you guys who are interested in more of a global bank, as Ibu Kerry mentioned, you have a lot of opportunity, of course, at the World Bank. Maybe before we start, let's invite a little bit of the YP colleague that Ibu Kerry bring with us to share some of the stories, right? So today's discussion is to inspire the people here to apply, Ibu Kerry. And then hopefully from this pool, we can get a lot of Indonesian selected to the next level, and hopefully some of you will be a YP like Ibu Kerry. So how many people
So
do you have here?
I invited 3 staff to join. We had a confusion about the timing, so I'm not sure whether or not they're all here, but I've got 2 Davids, a David from Australia and a David from Nigeria, and I've got Wael from Lebanon. So if any of them are, I can't see on my screen whether they're
Yeah, I can see them. So they're
okay.
here.
Maybe they could come in and say a
All
couple
right.
of words
So I
of
think I'll
inspiration.
start with David
David
Kazan,
K.
the first one.
We call him David K.
David K. So David, hi David. I was one of the World Bank staff from MFM also before. Pleasure to meet you here. So maybe briefly, just to inspire the people that is here today to apply, what's maybe the 3 best things that you think you get from the YP program? Over to you, David.
Thanks, Masita and Fajar and Kerry, and great to be here and really delighted to see how much interest there is in this program. A bit about myself very briefly first. So as Kerry said, I'm Australian. I joined the YP program of the World Bank in 2017. I came out of a PhD, so I focused on environmental economics in my PhD, and I've continued at the World Bank to focus on environmental topics like oceans management, deforestation, pollution control. And I went through the YP process. I'd heard of the YP many years earlier, and then I had applied to the World Bank and I'd applied to other institutions as well, but was very fortunate for it to come off. And then I spent a year in Washington and then, or 2 years in Washington before rotating to, or coming to Indonesia. And I consider myself very lucky to have been working on Indonesia ever since. But just to give you a couple of examples of the sort of things I've worked on along the way, and perhaps things which I found really interesting and inspiring. As an environmental economist, one of my first jobs was to look at the fisheries sector in Pakistan, to consider what overfishing was doing to the fishery resource and what that meant for Pakistan's economic growth and what that meant for the future of the fishery stock. So my first job at the World Bank was to try to model what would be the benefits of reforms to the fisheries sector. And then from that, we spent a lot of time speaking to the government. I went there on my first trip with the World Bank, spent time there, and the government was very interested in reforms in that sector. Those discussions went on a long time, and eventually, and today it's now an aquaculture project, but sort of 5 years later, those sort of initial discussions led to an investment in aquaculture, which is satisfying to see. And then the second thing I worked on was a reforestation project. So working on the design of potential or the design of tree planting in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a country which is very vulnerable to cyclones and hurricanes because it's low-lying, and so they use reforestation, particularly of their mangroves along the coast, in a type of green wall. So that was something which the bank supported, something we also support here in Indonesia. So that was something which was really inspiring to work on and to see that project come together. And then I'll just give you a third example of something we work on, which again, from the environment perspective, we have a series of reports on climate change and what climate change means for the future of economies, thinking not just about climate change in terms of the weather and physical impacts, but what it really means for long-term development. It's something that we've worked on in Indonesia. Now I'm working on a similar report in Fiji. And so this is the sort of analytical work. There's our project work, but there's also our research and analytical work. So those of you who have a research background, you would be interested and perhaps suited to those type of activities. And because it's a topic like climate change, which is so important to the future of development in many countries. I found that really satisfying as well. So I have a few tips as well about how to apply and what the applicant and what the selection panel will be looking for. But I'll pause here just with those three examples. I'll let my colleagues speak and then happy to come back with the nuts and bolts of applications and what I think the committee might be looking for. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, David. So maybe I'll call Weil first before another David. I don't see the other day. Oh, you're here also. Okay, sorry. So Weil.
Good morning, everyone. I am Wael Mansour. I'm a senior economist at the Economic Policy Unit, which is the unit where Ibu Mashita used to work at the World Bank. I deal mostly on macroeconomic issues. So you've probably seen me around at BKF and at the Ministry of Finance. Listen, not to repeat what David Kay was saying, what the YP offered me was really a chance to tour the world and work in different countries. The YP took me to West Africa, to East Asia, to the Middle East, something that I've never even imagined doing. From countries like Marshall Islands to Mauritania to Senegal to Iraq, even to Indonesia or the Philippines, where I've been and worked and lived. As a boy growing up in Lebanon, I've never thought that I would be able to do that. Now, and that was only possible because of the young professionals. And actually, if you want to work at the place where is the pinnacle of development work, is actually the World Bank. So there's no other institution that is so diverse, so entrenched in many countries, and will take you there. Now, just a tip of what we're looking for usually as you prepare your application, your interview, and think about the advice I give you is think about what is your specialization. Everyone that is recruited at the bank has one specialization. They're a specialist in something. Are you a transport person? Are you a macroeconomic person? Are you a poverty economist? Are you a climate change specialist, a private sector specialist? Think about your specialization, and it's not easy to do. Actually, once you're going to sit and write this application, it's very hard to pin down what you really know. But also take into consideration that you have to show reviewers that you could do many things across the various sectors. So you are also fungible. And this is what we call a T-shaped approach. So think about your speciality, think about how you can work across a sector. And the last point I want to say is be curious. At the World Bank, as Carrie said, we like curious people. We like people who go and ask questions, who are confident, not shy in terms of learning, in terms of saying that I don't know, I will get back to you. Go and read and prepare, and be ready for a career that takes you all over the globe. It's not a career where you stay in one place. We used to go and, I mean, I stayed 6 years in Washington in this regard, but nowadays the bank is all about being in the field. So, and I think that's one thing that we are looking for is people who are willing to live every 4 or 5 years in a different country. And good luck.
Thank you, Weil. So for those of you who would like to travel the world, and World Bank indeed is a very diverse community, so it's an added value. Also, when you look at other countries' issues of development challenge, then you realize some of the things are a common theme for Indonesia, and sometimes you can learn from other countries, and other countries can learn also from the Indonesia policy or program. So it gives us more perspective when looking at policy situation or doing analysis on certain situation. So because we only have 5 more minutes on this session, I'll invite the other David to the floor. The floor is yours, David.
Thank you very much, Pooh. My name is David Aramoke. I'm currently sitting in our World Bank office in Dili, Timor-Leste, and this shows how dynamic our work can be. Last week, I was probably at a meeting at the Ministry of Public Works, and now today I just came out of a meeting with the Ministry of Development Planning in Timor-Leste. So our work can be very dynamic like that. Well, how did I get here? I joined the bank in 2020 as a young professional like David and Will. And you'll be surprised to know that my background is in marine biology. So you're probably listening to us and wondering, do I qualify? Do I have the right background? I studied marine biology and I made it here. 6 months before joining the World Bank, I was a scientist studying climate change and how climate change affects oceans. And now I'm what you would call a blue economy specialist or a natural resources management expert working on the blue economy, mostly in Indonesia, but also in Timor-Leste. So you can see that the bank has a wide range of expertise that are required to help countries figure out development. But you probably have enough technical skills, and that's why you are interested in hearing about this session. What I want to focus on is the soft skills that can make your application stand out. Think about everything you've done in your career in the past as a toolbox and ask yourself, what sort of skills in this toolbox do I need to put forward the most that will make me distinct? Because there will be thousands of applications that will be reviewed. And when reviewers are looking at this application, they are looking for people who are unique, who have unique skill set. In my case, I was studying climate change and how it affects the oceans. And interestingly, it coincided with a time where the World Bank and the rest of the world was beginning to pay more attention to the fact that the ocean is a $3 trillion resource that needs to be sustainably managed. So think about what problem or what emerging issues are coming out of the environment today, the world we live in today, and how can your skill set and the toolbox you've been gathering throughout your career over the last couple of years can fix that. One more thing, in my cohort in 2020, the bank introduced a more intense need for young professionals to move around the world. So you're not going to escape it. In your interview, you will be asked if you are ready to travel. The answer should be yes, because you will travel and you would enjoy it. For example, the first time I came to Asia was when I was asked to come and live in Indonesia by the World Bank, and it's been one of the best experiences of my life so far. So I really hope that one day I will bump into one of you at the corridor and you will tell me that you saw me today and you were inspired by this session and it will carry to apply to join the World Bank. Thank you.
Thank you. And especially one of you guys will be here speaking to the other batch in the future, yeah, hopefully. Thank you so much, Ibu Carrie, David A, David K, and Weil. I hope that this session is useful for everyone, inspiring, and hope to see on the other side of the table of the Indonesian young graduates. So I'll
Do you
hand
want us to
over.
disconnect now, or do you want us to stay online in case there are questions?
Yes, if you may.
Okay, sure.
Yes. Okay, I'll hand over to a more technical questions and session on how you actually apply and what are the mechanism. I'll hand over to Fajar to lead the next session. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ibu Masita, Ibu Caroline, Pak David K, Pak David A, and Pak Weil for your sharing your wide range experience with the World Bank in many regions, ya Pak. From African countries, Oceanian countries to Southeast Asian countries. As we heard from them that the World Bank is diverse and the World Bank offers an ability to be exposed to many range of issues and see the realities of the world. And of course, solving that challenge from climate and environment, social issues, gender issues, to macroeconomic problems. And as our speaker said, that be curious and enjoy traveling the world. Now we are moving on to our main session today, a panel discussion on navigating the World Bank YP program. First one, we are honored to be joined by Ms. Panity, a senior human resources business partner at the World Bank. And Panity has been with the World Bank Group since 2009 and brings a wealth of experience in talent development at the World Bank. She holds dual master's degree, one from Columbia SIPA, Master in International Affairs, and another one from Northwestern University, Kellogg School of Management. And alongside Panity, we are delighted to welcome two Indonesian alumni of the YP program. The first one is Alda Ardelia, currently serving as Venture Capital Investment Officer at the IFC, an investment arm of the World Bank Group. Before joining the IFC in 2019, Alda built an impressive career in investment banking and tech startups in Indonesia. She holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Indonesia and an MBA from the University of Toronto, Canada. And I would like to also introduce Bramka Arga Javino, who works as a disaster and climate risk management specialist at the World Bank. He and his team recently published a working paper on disaster risk recovery using this case study of Nigeria. Bramka holds a bachelor's degree in engineering from the University of Indonesia and pursued both his master's and PhD at Delft University of Technology in the Netherlands. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite Paniti to share an overview of the current YP program, including what the World Bank is looking for in the future leaders. Paniti, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Fadar. Selamat pagi, everyone. Hi, Carrie, and my colleagues from the World Bank. Thank you, Mr. Finance, for having me today. My name is Paniti, and I'm based in Bangkok, and I'm HR business partner and take care of Thailand, Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia. So that's like the nature of our career at the World Bank, that we do our career span in different countries. We start with one country as an HR person. It's really wonderful to be able to work with several countries and not just one country that you're based in. So I think Carrie and colleagues have shared quite a bit about the World Bank Young Professional already, but I will go through my presentation quickly to let you know the formal process a little bit more. If you can share my presentation. Thank you. Okay, yes. So I think we go to the next page. And I think Carrie mentioned this already, that it's a 2-year term appointment followed by performance-based 5-year renewable contract, meaning that after the 3 stint over 24 months, then based on the business need and your performance, you'll be offered a 5-year renewable contract in the area of your expertise. At the same time, this program also offers continuous leadership and technical training by top experts, and also direct exposure to senior and regional leadership. And also you have individualized mentorship and coaching throughout the program. So the program not only select the best talent, but also when you join, you're also being groomed by colleagues and mentors that help you become successful in the program. Next slide, please. So these are our young professionals testimonials. And as you can see, we have our Myanmar young professional here as well. And I think the initiative for the past 2-3 years has been to get more Southeast Asian to join the YP program, because we are underrepresented as a whole as Southeast Asian. And so that's why beginning 3 years ago, we had the interview conducted in Bangkok. And we used to have it only in DC and Paris. So this time, to be more accommodating for Southeast Asian nationals, we are having an interview in Bangkok. Next slide, please. So eligibility criteria, Carrie did touch on this area. So education, master or PhD degree completed before September 2026, and work experience between 2 to 6 years. Relevant expertise, demonstrated alignment with chosen work program. So when you apply, you have to choose the expertise area. So we expect you to have relevant experience in that area. So language, English is the language that we use in the institution, but also if you're fluent in a second language, that's also an advantage in your application, such as the Arabic, Chinese, French, Portuguese, Russian, and Spanish. And nationality must be a citizen of a World Bank Group member country. And employment status must not be a current World Bank Group employees. And family rule, no close relatives employed by the World Bank Group. And most importantly, values, to share the strong commitment to World Bank Group's mission and values. Next, please. So some of the core competencies for the young professionals. The first one, most important, is a technical and professional expertise. So the ability to apply technical knowledge to complex development challenges. So this one is specific to whichever area that you have an expertise in. And beyond that, leadership and collaboration is also important. Ability to lead and collaborate in diverse multicultural teams. As you see that the World Bank is very diverse, ability to work across and within is very important. Third one, problem solving and decision making. To have critical thinking and structured problem solving skills, also very key as you go through different projects, working with different clients. This is very important skill. And the fourth one, communications and interpersonal skills, is the ability to listen, explain complex phenomena, and persuade others. As you work with different government counterparts, you will need this good communication skill and interpersonal skills to be successful in your job. And the next one is socio-emotional and behavioral skills, adaptability, resilient, and persistent in the face of challenges. Integrity, honesty, and commitment to the World Bank's mission is also important. And the last one, commitment to learning and development. As you know, we are in a fast-changing world right now. So commitment to learning is very important to be successful and to have a happy career within the bank. Next slide, please. So these are the tracks, two YPP tracks. You have operations and specialized function. So as you've heard before, we have, as the World Bank, we are now separate into people, prosperity, planet, infrastructure, digital, investment. That's the operations track. So when you apply for the post, you have to select the area that you would like to go into. So either operation tracks. So for example, in the people area is such as health, social protection, and education. For prosperity, you're looking at economic policy, poverty and equity, finance, competitive and investment. And in planet, we're looking for people in area of agriculture, climate, environment, social, and water. So those are examples. And the relatively new area, digital, is the area that we also actively looking for people to join us in this area, the digital transformation area. And also, this is relatively new. We have the specialized function as well that we are hiring young professional for. It's the area of legal, IT, information technology and solution, as well as in terms of budget, performance review, and strategic planning. So it's quite a wide variety of areas that we are looking for people. So I think it's quite exciting to look at the vast opportunities that are available. Next slide, please. So moving on to application process. So you probably may have seen that the application process has opened and the deadline is September 30th. So it's coming up soon. So application, make sure that you check the deadline appropriately because you don't want to miss so make sure you don't do it that last minute. And once we receive the application, we do the long list, and full applicant list is reviewed in October, around the first 2 weeks of October. And then the top 10% are selected for the next stage, which is the assessment. The assessment composed of virtual interviews, leadership assessment, and technical assessment that will take place around the last 2 weeks of October. So if you are longlisted in the top 10, then you've been contacted for assessment. And once you pass the assessment in the third phase of the process, then you are invited for an interview. So if you are located in Indonesia, you'll be invited for an interview in Bangkok. And interview is planned to be around January, around 3rd and 4th week. And it's a panel interview style and case studies. And also there's teamwork as part of the interview as well. It's an activity that you do casework with a team of YP applicants, and you're being observed in terms of your teamwork, your communication skills, your collaboration skills in that session. So the interview mainly composed of two parts: the panel interview that focus on your communication skills and your technical skills, and then the casework team work part focus on communication skill, collaboration skills, and ability to work across diverse group. And then once the interview's done, we do background check and offer sent out around late January. So probably it might be pushed to February. And then the entrance, as Carrie has mentioned, will be starting in DC September 2026. So that's the overall application process. Next page, please. So what to expect? Application material that you have to submit: a CV, highlight relevant academic, professional, and leadership experience, and not to exceed 2 pages. Short essay, responses to prompts on development challenges and leadership. So there'll be prompts for you to respond to when you apply. And then you have to submit your academic credentials as well. Include transcripts or proof of degree completion or enrollment letter. And professional academic references. So if you're shortlisted, then we ask for 3 references contacts for us to get reference. And the last one, proof of nationality, a valid passport from a World Bank Group member country. So I think I'll stop here. That's the main key, and give you back the floor for Jara view so that
Right.
colleagues can come in to contribute more.
Thank you, Paniti, for that comprehensive and practical overview. So again, I just want to remind all of you that the YP application, it will be closed at the end of this month, and the process is quite thorough, from a couple of interviews and assessments, and you will start your YP process in September 2026 if you are accepted. So next, we are excited to hear from Alda and Bramka. We will an Indonesians that currently work at the World Bank Group headquarters in Washington DC. We will share their personal journeys in applying and thriving for the YP program. Their experiences, including the challenges, strategies, and lessons learned, will be invaluable to many of you here today and who are considering applying. Alda and Bramka, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Fajar. Before we start, may we confirm that about the presentation time? Is it still 30 minutes, or do you expect us to present quicker?
Yes, I think that we can stick to 30 minutes, and you can share
Okay.
all of your
Yeah.
stories whole.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you. So, good morning, everyone. It's nice to be here on this event. I am Bramka Arga Javino. I started at the World Bank via the Young Professionals Program in 2022. And now I am a disaster risk management specialist for the South Asia region. So I work mostly on Bangladesh and Bhutan, and recently also on India. Some of the projects that I participate in are, for instance, about coastal resilience in Bangladesh, so helping the coastal population to cope with sea level rise and also cyclones, and also actually the Rohingya camps, as we know that Bangladesh is hosting over 1 million Rohingya refugees in the southeastern part of the country. And before I start, I would like to invite my colleague to also introduce herself, Alda.
Thanks, Bramka. Hi, everyone. My name is Alda. I joined IFC, which is the sister company of the World Bank Group, in 2019 as part of the YP program, and has been in the company for 6 years, being rotated in Singapore and Washington, D.C., currently covering disruptive technology and venture capital funds, mainly in Central Eastern Asia, Central Eastern Europe and Central Eastern Asia, and then also globally. Back to you, Bramka.
Yeah, thank you, Alda. So actually, it's such a pleasure for me to be able to speak at this event. I look back at myself 5 years ago. I was still pursuing my doctoral degree at Delft University of Technology in the Netherlands. So I was in the Netherlands at that time. And then Permias, Washington, D.C. held this event on career talk for with the Indonesian world bankers in Washington, D.C. It was 3 a.m. in the Netherlands, and I attended this online event. So, and as you see on the middle right here, there, Alda was there. So Alda was already at the World Bank at that time. So I'm so grateful for Alda for her guidance at that time that made me apply to the Young Professionals program. However, beyond that, there are various reasons why one would like to apply for the YPP, and then the two Davids and also Will have shared their experience, also their reasons. And for me, myself, I think these are the 5, 6 reasons that motivated me to apply for the YPP. One is because most of my background has been on research, and I see World Bank as a platform to do applied research to make research more impactful on the ground. And second is, for me, the contribution and making impacts are beyond borders. Like, we are all human beings. So it's not, so it is good that we do something good for Indonesia, but it's also as equally good if we help people, especially the poor people in other parts of the world, to be out of poverty. And as the others have also said, World Bank is very much a multi-sector, multicultural, multinational work environment. As an international staff, you will need to rotate every 4 years, meaning that every 4 years you have the opportunity to move to a different country, work with completely different teams, and also interact with governments from different stakeholders, which is from different cultures, and these are opportunities that you may not be able to find in a lot of even international organizations. There are career paths for everyone. Literally, there are career paths for people who like to do research, for people who like to do financial modeling, for people who prefer to do more project management, dealing with contractors on the ground, for people who with a legal background. There are career paths for almost everyone at the World Bank. And this is one of the exciting opportunities, existing career trajectories that you can explore if you come to the World Bank. And last but not least is, of course, the World Bank offers competitive compensations and benefits to its staff. However, I realize there are a lot of challenges, especially for Indonesians to get accepted into a World Bank, let alone via the Young Professionals program. And hopefully in this occasion, the tips and tricks that Alda and I will share will cover most, if not all, of these challenges, like how you could brand yourself, how you could be more structured and systematic in answering interview questions, and so on and so forth. But I think most importantly are the two last points at the bottom. What we see is that a lot of Indonesians are underprepared. For instance, when they apply for the YPP, they don't know exactly what the World Bank is doing. They don't know exactly what the latest projects or programs or publications in their areas of expertise. They don't know exactly what are the latest or the hottest topics in their sector, and so on and so forth. And also the second point is that the second challenge is that believe like it or not, like it is highly competitive. When you think about it, the applicants are from more than 100 countries. So the competition is global, which means that if you apply for a young professional program, your application actually does not start today. It starts already 1, 2, or even 5 years ago throughout your bachelor's, master's, and work experience, because this all builds up your CV and also your portfolio. So hopefully both of us will cover some of these challenges tailored to the application process for the YPP. I will share more about the CV and motivation letter, and later Alda will share more about the interviews and also the assessments. So branding yourself. These are, if I understand correctly, the first 3 items that you should prepare when you are about to apply for the YPP. First is your CV. Second is your essay or motivation letter. I think this year you have 2 or 3 guiding questions, and you should answer these 2 or 3 guiding questions through a 1 paragraph essay each or something like that. I don't exactly know because they change every year. And third is reference letters. So normally you will be asked to provide to referees, and these people will need to provide reference letters for you. For CV, these are what I found to be useful when I crafted my CV for the YPP application back then. First is you need to have a headline brand for yourself. So on the CV, of course, the first line is your name, and right under your name, you should be able to brand yourself. What are you specialized? What do you specialize in, for example? I will go into more details about this headline brand later. And then, of course, you list your education and work experience. You don't need to be extremely long in your education and work experience, but make sure in your education you highlight 2 or 3 key courses that fit very well within the work stream that you apply, and also mention the final thesis that you did back then, because it gives the impression to the panelists or the reviewers to know your experience, your education background. And then when it comes to your work experience, try as much as possible to have quantifiable achievements. So if you work in investment, for instance, tell about how many billion rupiahs you managed to mobilize during your time as an investment banker. Or if you are a project manager in a humanitarian organization, talk about how many programs you have led or you have contributed in. So everything that is quantifiable is always nice. It is, of course, good to have a long CV, but keep it to 1 to 2 pages. And in my case, because I have more a research background, you could go up till 3 pages, I would say, if you have many publications and you would like to share the list of your publications. But keep it concise and in general, not more than 2 pages. And most importantly, don't just reuse your CV. You need to tailor your CV to your application stream. So for instance, if you're applying for the water sector, make sure you highlight a lot of your courses related to water management, a lot of your work experience related to water supply or flood risk management, and so on and so forth. So make sure you don't just reuse the CV that you already used for applying to another job before. Make sure you clearly sprinkle the words related to your work streams in your CV. And then the second one is essay or motivation letter. So the 2 common mistakes I see when I'm reviewing one's motivation letter is that they sometimes tend to repeat what they already say in their CVs. So for instance, if you already say in your CV, you work on transport project in Jakarta, you don't need to repeat that again in your essay or motivation letter. You could frame it in a different way. You could frame it, for example, like you've worked in transport projects in developing countries. So try to summarize your CV, but definitely never verbatim, word by word, repeat what you already say in your CV. And the second error is actually the second mistake that I often find is actually the third point there. Some motivation letter I saw started with big words. For instance, there was one candidate who was applying for the climate change program, and he started with big words like the if countries do not commit to their NDCs, then 2 degrees of warming will not be achieved by 2050 or something like that. You don't need to share these intelligent facts in the motivation letter. Most likely the reviewers are more intelligent than yours because they have more work experience. So you don't need to teach them about such intelligent facts. What you need is to be personal in your motivation or essay or motivation letter. Talk about how climate change influences your daily life. Talk about how congestion influence your health and also your well-being. Talk about how economic instability influence your family's ability to afford daily needs. All these personal facts are more welcome in such motivation letter rather than giving such big numbers or intelligent facts. And also, again, do your research. Like I mentioned before, under preparation is one of Indonesia's biggest challenge. So do your research, understand what is the World Bank's mission, understand what are recent projects and programs in your streams, work streams. Try to understand what makes YP program differs from just, for instance, general World Bank position opening. And most importantly, demonstrate your fitness. Why do you think you are fit for your work stream? And most importantly, why do you think you fit as a YP instead of through the normal World Bank application process, for example? The last part that you normally need to prepare is reference letters. So you will be asked 2 to 3 referees, and then at least in my year, the YP team will send the links to these referees, and they will be asked to upload their reference letters for you themselves. So the 3 tips I have here is first, this may be a no-brainer, but do not ask junior staff or junior people to give reference to you. Like it or not, it is most likely that the reviewers will trust the letters from more senior people better than junior people. In my case, for instance, I had a reference from a senior economist and also from a university professor. You could tolerate yourself, but make sure no juniors there. It is nice to have someone that is high in the ladder as your referee, but it is more important that this person is someone who you have worked intensively with. Why? Because then they would be able to give honest and also more factual references for you. So someone who you know will spend their time to endorse and draft letters for you. If this is like a high-level professor who you have only worked with in one course, she or he will not know for sure what is your quality. And it is a different case from a professor who you've worked with for 6 months or for 1 year, for instance, because you join a project or you do your master thesis with them. She or he will know more about your quality than this emeritus professor who you only meet once or in one course, for example. And more importantly, these are not independent of each other. So after getting into the YPP, I had the opportunity to get feedbacks for my application. So this was offered only for accepted applicants back then. And one striking thing from my application, what the YP team said, was that there was consistency between CV and essay and reference letter. While my background was actually not linear. So I started as an industrial engineer, but I did research on energy transition back then. For my master's degree, I work on transport network. For my PhD, I work on water and how to incorporate justice in water planning. And after finishing my PhD, I work on flood risk management. So these are all completely different topics. However, going back to the CV, what I highlight myself is that I'm a climate change specialist with 5+ years of experience in using quantitative analytics to support resilience and equitable planning. So I use the word climate change as the common thread across these topics, because energy transition is about climate change, transport resilience is affected by climate change, water supply is affected by climate change, and also flood risk is of course driven by climate change. And then after this, I sprinkle these words, the fact that I could work with multiple sectors, not only climate, but also water, transport, and energy. And with this, I could break the silos. And with this, I could be client on goal oriented, because different clients will need to approach problems from different perspectives for different sectors. I sprinkle these words in my motivation letter and also in my CV. But I have this headline brand in on my CV right after my name, that these two lines of headline brand that I had, that it summarizes my expertise. Now I see some questions are there such perfect candidates? So I give you an example here of 3 accepted candidates from different countries in the past few years. The first one on the left is quite common for World Bank. You study economics your whole life and then you get into World Bank YP. It's possible to enter through this line. The second one is this lady started as a physician, and then she pursued a master's degree in public health. She became a global health consultant for a few months, and most of her career was actually a business consultant, not even health consultant, but she could still be accepted as a YP. The last one is what I think the most interesting one, because disaster risk management, my sector, is very much an engineering sector, because we deal with floods, we deal with early warning systems, we deal with hydrometeorological services, we deal with building codes. But this lady actually started as with a bachelor's degree in law. She spent most of her career working at a TV station before she pursued a master's in public policy. And after that, she became a project manager in humanitarian organization. But actually, her work experience was 4 years in TV station and 1 year in the humanitarian organization. And she could get accepted into the YP. Why? Because the way she framed her application is that when she was a reporter for a TV station, most of her coverage was on disasters. So she covers quite a lot of disasters that happen in her countries during that time. So that way you see that although you have like completely unrelated bachelor's degree as a starting, but if your work experience aligns and you could tailor it in your application, you could always be the candidate or the perfect candidate for the YP. So this is about the first part of the application, and then I'll hand over to Alda for the second part.
Thanks, Bram. Can you go back 1 slide? So before I talk about, like all the post-application submission phase, I just want to add, like, maybe you want to shift career. Maybe YP is one of the way you to actually change the history of your career and try to something new. You could also do that, which maybe you are not the perfect candidates, but along the way, when you do your PhD, when you do your master, think about let's say you have like bankers background and tech background, but you want to be a venture capital like me. So what you have to do, like during your master, try to get into projects that related to venture capital, or even better, internship. Join all the club related to that. Like typically there's like student club, so you understand what VC is, as well as if there's a competition, if there's any like seminars, join that. So in a way, when you tailor the motivation essays or your CV, you could show that you actually have the skill set, even though you don't have past history or working experience on that kind of area. So just be creative, rebrand yourself during your studying period. And, like as Bramka said, it's not something that you apply next day. It's something that you already think of because this career is actually really worth it to work on. So yeah, next slide. So after basically your application got accepted, you are invited to next step. Typically, the next step is on-demand video interview, which is by this platform called HireVue, and then followed by assessments. I think it has been discussed before by Paniti, and then followed by the final panel interview. Next. So in detail, HireVue is a digital interview platform. So you don't actually face to like in person, you face yourself. So there will be like a pop-up of questions. Maybe you have time to prepare, maybe not, but mostly it's a set of 3 to 6 questions, mix of competency-based and behavioral. There will be a question pop up on your screen, and then you will be asked to click record and you start answering your questions. So during this kind of, really intense time period, maybe it's better to print your CV or essay or any notes that you use to prepare for this behavioral type of interview next to you. So if you kind of like, forget about things that you want to say, you still have the notes next to you and you could start saying that in the recording. Next is the assessment. So if you pass, I don't know, like every YP year could be different. Sometimes the video interviews like together with the assessment, sometimes separated, but essentially assessments consist of 2 things. So either you apply for the investment stream or not. So for the investment stream, typically you will be asked an online assessment that related to finance. So like accounting or financial modeling and such. And then for the non-investment stream that you apply, you will be invited to assessment center, which is essentially a group study, a group-based assessment of a case study where you are invited with the other applicants in a room, and then you have to discuss a case study that will be given. So in this phase, you are assessed the ability to work well in teams. This is really important because it's not the individuality, it's how they the panelists will see like how well you are working within a team setting and how well you communicate in the verbal communication setting. And then after that, there will be a self-reflective moment and session as well, where you are assessed to be able to communicate in the writing setting. And lastly, it's a panel interview, which the panel will include like all the senior people, technical experts, in my case, even like chief credit officers, senior person from the HR, all the senior investment officers. So depending on the stream that you are selected, those panel will be like related to your expertise and your streams that you are interested in. So question is really a depth and breadth of yourself. So master your CV, you will be asked all the quantitative related to your work. There you will be assessed a qualitative thinking, how you problem solve, and most importantly, in how you tie everything else to the World Bank missions and value. So it's like the whole package that being reviewed overall of this interview and assessment. Next. So this is the most common thing that always being asked to me, what exactly is being asked? So on the on-demand video interview, mostly, the most common, I mean, you still have to prepare the other stuff, but mostly they will ask you about behavioral. So why are you a good fit for the World Bank Group? In case they ask your colleague, what your colleague will describe you as. What is your strength and weaknesses? Mention the biggest challenge in your career or in your sector and how you approach that. Or even bigger, they will ask like how World Bank should approach the challenge in your sector. And recently, what I heard from the upcoming YP, the questions even broader related to what World Bank has done. For example, last year they asked like the World Bank just published like gender strategy. Why do you think it's critical or priority? So you really have to keep up. You really have to research about what World Bank recently published or done, especially related to your stream. And then the second one for the assessment, again, you have to learn like, for the financial analysis, which is related to the investment stream, you need to really master accounting, ratios, financial modeling, real project case study. So in my time back in 2019, I was given like 2 case studies about IFC projects, and then you have to compare the numbers and how it relates to actually World Bank mission and values, and propose which ones better fit among this project A or project B. And then for the group assessment for the non-investment stream, it's typically 45 minutes case study in a group setting, followed by 15 minutes written reflections. So you will be given 2 prompts, and then you reflect based on what's the interaction within the group. And lastly, the panel interview. This is the more rigorous, advanced, for me at least, is the hardest interview I've ever done, honestly, because it consists of traditional interview. So you really have to master your CV. Every single word that you put in your CV, they will ask you the derivative of that. Like, so for example, you said like, you basically sell this products by certain amounts, and increase the growth, the profit of the company by certain amount of the growth. Like, they will ask like what methodology you use to actually quantify this growth. So you cannot just like BSing your CV all the way. They will ask you this kind of details because you know the best of you. So they will ask you in term for the sake of the curiosity. And then behavioral, think about your answer like a story. They will ask you something around like, tell me about the time when you had to work on a project that is daunting, that is challenging. Tell about the time that you have to convince high-level senior government people. So tell about this and tell it as a story. There is a STAR method that I will discuss at the end of the presentation that you can use to actually answering this panel and hire few interviews. Also, because panel interviews in person, they will invite you to either DC or certain series that previously mentioned. So pay attention to posture, intonation, your face mimic, level of stress, because you will be assessed all of this. Next. So again, what I found of Indonesian candidates who typically come to me, they typically underprepare or like doing all this essay, everything last minute. I would highly suggest DOM. And then please review the YPP application page thoroughly, including the FAQ, because you really see what's required there. And then to be even better than the other candidates, engage with the current team in the work stream that you are interested in. For example, you are interested in health or like in VC, you can reach out to me to understand more about the projects they are currently working on or like have recently completed or like the priority that they actually, like focusing on. Sorry, Carrie, I think you have your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to come in and reiterate some of the points you guys have made, but I'll wait until you've finished.
Sure, thank you. And then after that, do your background research. As Bramka said, sometimes you will be asked like your recent publication, the recent World Bank or IFC strategy reports. Just research more about this related to your work stream. Good tips is reviewing the World Bank Group blog post. That's like the best summary you can see for the non-investment stream candidate. For me, for investment stream candidates, how to refresh your accounting. I have this PDF, IB 400 finance questions. This is like available in the Google. You can just like download it. That's really helpful for preparing all the finance, accounting, and behavioral questions, at least for me. And then practice. Conduct multiple mock interviews. Don't like just prepare on the sheet and then just wing it. Do mock interview in front of the mirror, in front of your friends. So, and to actually build your confidence when you do it multiple times, you kind of like know how to answer. Also, you could improve your delivery. Remember to pay attention to your posture and intonation. And lastly, I'll talk about the STAR method, which is if you are doing MBA, somehow they will teach you this. But for those who didn't, this is like the framework that is super helpful in framing your questions, framing your answer to answer all this interview questions. So you have to actually start by describing your situation. So S stands for situation, followed by task, action, and result. So situations you have to describe, so interviewer know what is the situation is and what is your role, which is the task, and then what is your task inside the role itself. So interviewers will understand, okay, why you actually do that in the action phase. And then for the result, you have to be able to quantify it if possible and describe it more clearly. What is your contributions? What is actually your thought? How you approach the problem, the steps you followed. Even though it's a team effort, describe exactly how you contribute. What is your own role? And again, for the result, have to be really clear. Next. And then going back, I think there's a question about AI and how it's allowed to helping the application. The FAQ said that you better still maintain your original work. There's like a lot of this use. I mean, for me, AI helped me to actually check if my grammar is correct because, I found a lot of people submitting like grammatically error essay. That's kind of like already giving you minus point. So use that to check your grammar, but don't use that to actually create the entirely essay that it's not you. Still maintain your original work. And then, yeah, like basically use it to improve your grammar, maybe helping you to assess your stories. But again, original work is the most important. They will check if it's a copycat or like AI generated work or not. I think that's it from me. Unless Bramka wants to add some points.
No, thanks, Alda. Nothing else from my end.
So hope that helpful, guys.
All right, thank you. I think that Carrie wants to add a couple of insights.
Thanks. Yes, I mean, in my career at the World Bank, I've obviously sat on many, many, many recruitment efforts, shortlisting, chairing interview panels, and reviewing applications and so on. Let me just emphasize a couple of points that I find particularly important. Number one, Ramka's point on don't just use your motivation letter to present your CV in a different format. The motivation letter is to tell the recruiters why you want to do this. They can see from your CV, these recruiters will know, if you got a PhD from Harvard, they know what that means. You don't need to then spell it out once again in the motivation letter. For me, I am always particularly interested in seeing signs of real passion in a motivation letter. Motivation letters that start that in the following way. I am motivated to apply for the YP program because I care about this. I'm passionate about that. It is my dream to do whatever. Capture the attention of recruiters and help them understand that you know what the World Bank's mandate is and that you are passionately committed to following a career in that that can deliver on those passions of yours. I think the reason why it moves me when I'm looking at motivation letters is because I believe if somebody really wants a job, then they'll do it quite well, generally. If somebody is doing it because the salary's pretty good, I like the idea about flying around the world, that is not going to be a winning approach to convincing. You need to put on a convincing display that you really want this. You understand what you're applying for and you really, really want it. And you have imagined yourself doing it and how you would do it. So both on your CV and on your motivation letter, every single word matters. Don't be sloppy. Don't put stuff in that's generic. Every word helps you to convey a point. And learning how to do that, is going to be important. Why? Because, the World Bank is a strongly intellectual organization. We do a lot of writing. If you do not write it well, if you cannot communicate well, then it's not, that in itself indicates to recruiters that you may not be a strong candidate for working in the World Bank, because you will be communicating in a job in the World Bank. You will be communicating with government ministries from, technical level up to perhaps even some decision-making level, with civil society, with media. Communication is absolutely critical. Examine every word you write. First point. Second point, also made, practice your interviews. I'm senior now in the World Bank, but even when I apply for jobs, I will do mock interviews. I'll ask a colleague to give me a mock interview, and I will do mock interviews for other colleagues. Even though I'm known in the World Bank, I've been a director for many, 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 many years, and people know who I am and what I can do and what I can't do and what my strengths are and what my weaknesses are. I will still practice. And at your stage, you need to get into the habit of really thinking about what you want to convey about yourself in the interview. Practice it. Why? Because it will, and particularly practice it out loud. Why? Because an interview is an unnatural situation. You have to sit there and you have to talk about yourself being fabulous, right? We don't normally do that in general. Well, maybe some people do it, but most people, British people, don't do it. I'm guessing that Indonesian people don't do it very often either. So it feels unnatural. You have to get used to the sound of your own voice saying these things. That's why you need to practice out loud. You need to time your responses. You need to understand what you're trying to convey and the most efficient, compelling way to do that. And you will not do that if you just wake up in the morning, wander into the interview and start talking. You will need to practice that. You will need to go in there and you will need to feel confident, and you will in particular need to be able to kind of set up the response to the first question in a way that gives you extra confidence. Normally in the World Bank, don't know whether they'll do this in the YP interviews or not, but normally in the World Bank, the first question is, why did you apply for this position? And what do you think you will bring to it? Practice that, because if you nail that response, if you think you do well at it, it will help you relax and it will help you answer the following questions in a way that feels authentic. Do not read out your responses from a pre-prepared piece of paper. Respond naturally and don't stop thinking. Don't stop thinking at all at any point during the interview. So let me just reiterate those points that other colleagues have made.
All right. Thank you. I think that is there any Weil or David K, David A that wants to emphasize or add some insights from recent talks with Carrie, Alda, and Bramka?
Yeah, maybe I can come in to really buttress Carrie's point. She just mentioned she was wondering if this question is being asked at the YP interview. Maybe I can share for 2 minutes my own experience. Like I said earlier, I was a scientist. I never worked at a bank. I never worked in development. I did not study economics. And when I was asked why did I want to work for the World Bank, I told them so that was the first question. She's right. We will be asked the first question, why did you apply for this job? Why the World Bank? And for me, it was very easy to tell a compelling story because I've been building my profile for this job for about 10 years. As soon as I finished my bachelor's, my target was to get a PhD and find myself in an institution as a World Bank. I spoke about how I grew up in Nigeria. I spoke about my first experiences with the World Bank project that transformed agriculture sector in Nigeria many, many years ago. It's called Fadama project. It's very popular with Nigerians. I spoke about how that informed me that I could do good work around the world and I could bring all of the knowledge and the technical expertise that I've gathered as a scientist to help the World Bank to solve development challenges, especially in Africa, where I hope to work in the future. And that sort of compelling evidence sort of then pushed the narrative of the interview to focus on my strengths. So I basically was able to guide their questions to focus on the strengths that I carry. One more thing that I would just add is be original. You are enough. Be original and be intentional. Just showcase what you think is your best set of skill set, put it up front, and trust that the process will go in your favor. And if it doesn't work out the first time, please don't give up. Try again. But I hope it works out for you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. It is such a hearing such a fascinating stories from Carrie, David, Alda, and Bramka. Thank you for those inspiring insights. Before we open the floor for the Q&A session, I would like to briefly highlight a few key takeaways from today's panel that may be useful for those of you preparing to apply for the YP program. The first one is that having a career at the work bank is not only about your individual career, but also on achieving collective goal to make the world becoming a better place to live. As Carrie shared her valuable experience in her opening remarks, every day in her 27 years of career, she learns a lot of new things, challenged with new issues. It is a lifelong learning at the work bank. And she also mentioned that motivation letter is to tell the recruiter why you want to do this, showing your passion instead of mentioning your academic background, whether you're from Harvard, Chicago, Yale, and else. But putting the real passion in the motivation letter is essential. And also that she mentioned about a practice, practice, and practice is essential, even you are already have plenty of experience. And the second one is that Paniti mentioned about 6 competencies that the World Bank seeks, not only technical and professional expertise, but also social and leadership skills. Even that leadership is being tested as one of the assessment. And so yeah, prepare to highlight those 6 competencies in your applications. And then the third one is Bramka shared his experience and background. That he's not from economist background, he's an engineer. He has academic journey that is not linear, from energy transition to transportation. But again, it is about branding yourself in the CV, as the World Bank is a very diverse place, not only from economist background, but a physician atau sarjana kedokteran kalau di Indonesia. Even reporter can be part of the YP program. As David mentioned, that he was not an economist before, he was a scientist before the World Bank. And Alda shared the in-depth process of interview and assessments. That investment stream will test you on accounting and finance basics, and that will be different for non-investment stream. And again, YP program is very rigorous, as she mentioned during panel interview, that will be assessed everything. So it is important to fit your background with the World Bank value. With that, so I will try to read a lot of questions here. So I think that there's a lot of enthusiasm for the participants here, more than 40 questions. So me and the committee tried to group the questions in couple sectors. So the first one is that yes, for the follow up activities after this, yes, as Bu Dirjen mentioned in the introduction, we will help you to make you successful in the whole YP process. And on recording, yes, this session will be uploaded in the JSPSK YouTube account later. And so I will start the Q&A session with more quite easygoing question on work-life balance. So maybe this question goes to Bramka, Alda as a young professionals, and of course to Carrie, David, and others that has like 10-20 years of career. So the question is that, is the YP environment or the World Bank environment is considered mother friendly, and particularly in terms of work-life balance and family support, and how's your experience on this? Maybe Alda, you can share your experience on work-life balance first.
Sure, but I don't know if this will scare people. So, work-life balance for me, it's not that balanced, especially in the first year when you got in new environment, you need to adjust, you need to make friends, you need to build your network, you need to strengthen your brand inside the organization, and that's really tough and that takes time. And for me, it's not balanced at all because you have to put a lot of work to actually be known in the team and within the organization. And you want to contribute, right? You are excited. You are this new young professional. You want to prove yourself. So for me, at least the first 1 or 2 years is not balanced at all. But once you got the grip, once you already, built your name, built your brand, you kind of can manage the workload a little bit. And once you become a little bit more senior, especially after you graduate from the YP, you are being paired with the analysts or like more like younger people. And that's how you like offload some of the burden in your first 2 years of your career and become more manageable. At least that's from my experience. But I know every team, every sectors, every VPU, every like phase of the time. Sometimes like for me, the most busiest will be the year end, which is for us is June. So March, April, May, June, that's like the busiest. While maybe in January or August, it's like really low key that I could take vacation. So it really depends. But the first 2 years, I would say don't expect to be that balanced. And if the balance is the thing that you really value, maybe you can think of how you still manage to, strengthen your brand while still maintaining your balance of life. Maybe I'm not doing it better. I don't know, Bramka. For me, it's tough the first 2 years, but after that it gets better.
Yeah, and Bramka, please share your story.
I think another part of the question is about the is it like mother friendly or not? So for new mothers, I think it's quite mother friendly. I just double check that if this information is public, and it is public. So for new parents, the World Bank offers quite generous parental leave. So it's 100 working days for the primary caregiver, which is normally the mother. So that's approximately 5 months. And then 50 days for the secondary caregiver, who is normally the father. So that's 2.5 months. So I think for a US standard, at least, and also for an international organization standard, the bank offers that kind of support to new parents. And then, yeah, I don't have anything to add on the work-life balance. It depends on the time of the year. It depends on the cycle of your project. In general, July and August, which are the first 2 months in the fiscal year, are quite slow and are quite relaxed. But then sometimes you need to get a new project approved in July or in August, and it can be very hectic. So there is a cycle. The first 1 or 2 years are always the most difficult one because you need to adjust. But once you get the hang of it, once you know the rhythm, then it becomes much more better to plan for your personal plans, actually. I'm not sure if Kerry or the
Let
other
me say some
YPs would
words.
like,
Yeah.
who have
I'm
more
in the
experience
car
at the
now.
bank.
I'm sitting in Jakarta traffic at the moment. So I don't know how well you can see me. I maybe will make our colleagues in DC homesick for the bad traffic of Jakarta. Look, I had 3 children in 4 years while I was working for the World Bank. So is it mother? And I was obviously a mother. Is it mother friendly? I don't think really any work is mother friendly, but in the general scheme of things, and you would really need to ask my kids whether it made me a terrible mother working at the World Bank. When I talk to my children about whether they would have preferred to have had a stay-at-home mother, they all say, no, that would be terrible. It wouldn't suit your personality and you would be a nightmare to live with. So, I guess it depends on our different personalities, okay? Depends what you want out of life. Depends how you want to live your life. Is it hard work working for the World Bank? Absolutely, it's hard work. Is it worth it? Do you get rewards in return for that? Yes, you do. Does it perfectly match on to the kind of life plan that everybody might have? Possibly not. You have to decide for yourself exactly how you want to live your life and how you want to balance work and other activities that are important to you. For me, the most important question for Indonesian young people thinking of applying for this is that you will never be posted to Indonesia. You won't be based in your home country. That's an HR approach that we have. You could give up your international position and come back to Indonesia as a local staff member, but you will not be posted as an international staff member in Indonesia. So for me, when you think about work-life balance, think about how important Indonesia, home in Indonesia is to you, the social support networks that you have there, and whether that makes a difference to you. For me, it doesn't make that much difference because I'm from the UK, and in the UK, nobody ever helps you anyway. But I know in Indonesia, you have extended families who tend to be perhaps more helpful in these kind of settings. And finally, I would say, although the World Bank is quite a demanding employer, expects high quality work delivered on time, because the kind of work we do is important to countries and their economies, and it has to be good. Other jobs are also demanding. I mean, my kids, who are probably the same age as some of you in this meeting, they have startups. They're working around the clock as well. So, there's no easy pathway in life. So consider that. Those are the elements that you should consider, I think, when you're thinking about whether or not this is the right pathway for you.
Right. Thank
So
you.
just one really quick thing that Kerry mentioned about not being based in Indonesia. So when we talk about work-life balance over the long term, that's a very important point, because it's not only about working around the clock, but also the fact that you won't be based in Indonesia. You will be based either in DC or in country offices. If you are an international staff, it is most likely you will need to rotate every 4 or 5 years, which means you and your entire family may need to move to a different country every 4 or 5 years. Even if you are in Indonesia, if you are based in DC in the headquarters, you may need to go on long missions. So my project leader, who was based in DC but worked on South Asia back then, at the end he spent 5 months or 6 months of the year in South Asia, not in DC. So this kind of challenges that like it or not, you will need to face if you apply as an international work-based staff.
Right, that's an interesting story, Alda, Bramka, and Ibu Kerry. And there's questions for Paniti, Alda, and Bramka. So I think that the first one, it goes to Paniti. So I noticed that the World Bank YP in this year has updated its eligibility, its criteria from age limits of 32 years old to requiring to 6 years of relevant professional experience. Is that 6 years is the absolute maximum to be considered? So a couple of participants asked that if they have experience more than 6 years, it makes them not eligible as YP candidates for this year? And the second one goes to Paniti, Alda, and Gramka. What is the main responsibility as the YP? Since YP is a contract base after 2 years and might be followed by a 5-year renewable contract based on performance, could you please explain more about it?
Yeah, so I'll go first on the years of experience. So they lifted the age because it could be that some people had a late start in their career, and so that's why the age limit was lifted. And if you have more than 6 years of experience, that's no problem at all. So it just maintained the sort of the range that would be acceptable, but beyond 6 is still okay. And the responsibility of the YP is and you have 3 assignments, right, within 24 months. So you will join a team. So you join the specific track, either in which specific area, and then you will join the team, be part of the team, and work alongside the professionals in that team. But I'll let my colleagues go further in the responsibilities. But you just work along the team. You're part of the team, part of the professional in the team.
Right. Maybe Mas Bramka can answer your responsibility in the YP program in the first 2 years, and after that.
What makes YP program different from a normal World Bank job opening are 2 things. One is there is a structured learning curriculum about the World Bank process, and so on and so forth in these first 2 years. Because World Bank in itself is a very complex organization. It takes years to understand the entire process of how to get lending operations rolled out. So YP gets this structured curriculum to really learn this process in depth. But it's only like 5% of your time or 10% of your time maximum. The rest 90%, you are just a normal World Bank staff. So you do just like what other World Bank staff are doing actually. And the second difference is the rotation opportunity. As I mentioned before, normally as an international staff, you need to rotate every 4 to 5 years to a different unit, sometimes to a different country. As a YP, I think starting next year, you will have the opportunity to rotate starting 8 months after 8 months of your first contract or after your start date. So you don't need to wait 4 or 5 years to experience another country or another region. You could do it already within 8 to 12 months. But really accept these two, accept the structured learning curriculum and the opportunity to rotate earlier and experience other units or regions earlier. The rest is like normal World Bank stuff. So you could, what normal World Bank staff do is you do research, or if you are at IFC or for instance, you do more the investment due diligence, or if you are more into the project management, then you go to the country, deal with contractors working on roads, and so on and so forth. So this is like typical day-to-day World Bank staff jobs. What else, Alda? You have anything to add about the contract? I think yeah, you will be given up to 5 years of contract, and then as long as
I think it's
your
different now, bro.
performance is
I
different.
think
Yeah.
it's 2 years now.
Okay, it's 2 years, and then if within 2 years you have good performance, so your performance kind of okay, then it will be extended to 5 years. And then afterwards, normally as long as your performance is kind of okay, they will keep extending your contract for another 4 years, then 4 years, then 4 years. As far as I know, so this may not be the most accurate information. That's kind of the World Bank business model right now, that we use these contracts, but as long as the general business is doing good and also you're doing good in your work, then you always get your contract extended. But from the IFC side, you may have different insight on that.
So for the YP from IFC, we started like as a grade level, is an associate investment officer equivalent. So our responsibility is really like as an associate, right? So you help doing the due diligence, you even help like finding deals, talking like building the network in the region that you are allocated to, and then basically mastering the region that you actually specializing on. For example, when I was in Singapore, I have to kickstart the VC team in the Southeast Asia. So I have to talk to a lot of stakeholder, like a lot of VC, PE funds, startups. So it's really equivalent of working as a full-time employee, associate level, even like investment officer level, like one rank above the associate. So I feel like the responsibility given or the trust given from the upper level is really high toward you, which is, for me, it's great because that's what I'm looking for. I don't want to be just like, doing PPT without talking to stakeholder, without understanding the ecosystem, without knowing the people who actually in the region. So exposure wise, I've been given a lot, like literally, if I'm not in IFC, I might not be able to have this kind of exposure at my level or at my age. So I really feel grateful of that. And the YP, I feel the most advantage versus like normal regular track is the opportunity to make mistake, because you essentially have to rotate like to different team every like 6 or 8 months. I don't know what is the current duration is, but essentially when you enter new team, you are actually having one more life, like one more chance to make mistake. And then because like you are basically new person in the team, so that's really helpful for your learning curve. And yeah, I just feel like that's a really great opportunity to make like dirty, like be in the dirty swamp and like make mistake during your career.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe David, maybe you can add something on your YP experience. I know that you make some work in the Caribbean, and now you work in Indonesia right now. So what's your experience for the YP in the past years?
Yeah, thank you very much. What I want to say is, in terms of what you will be doing as a YP, the work can be very dynamic, and the YP program also allows you to explore your interest. So there's a dedicated team within the global HR unit that is assigned to assist YPs in those 2 years to navigate the bank in a way with support that people that come into specific jobs do not have. First of all, you have a cohort of fellow YPs that can give you guidance based on their own experiences, where you can have regular meetups that share their experiences that can also help shape your own experience. But then you also have the rotations, and now they have made it even better. So in my time, the rotations where you spend 1 year in one unit and then you move to another unit, or you could move to another institution, or you could move to another department entirely within another unit within this or another department within the same sort of like faculty. And now they are saying you have three rotations. So one has to be in the field, one has to be in another institution, which is very good. So that means over 2 years and within three 8-month rotations, you would have gone to live in a country other than the United States, which is really nice. That means you get a lot of experience, opportunity to have client engagement, to join meetings. You might just find yourself 2 months into the job, sitting with the Minister of Finance of the country that you are working with. That is very exciting. The second thing is you can get to work in another institution. So maybe you get hired at the IFC, and then in your next rotation, you find yourself in a meeting with the country director of the bank, now working for the bank in the country office. So, so that is something that makes the YP program very attractive, so that you finish the 2 years and you have a lot of depth, but also the breadth to work across the institution. In my experience, I started in Latin America and the Caribbean. I was working with Caribbean countries. And then after 1 year, I moved to East Asia and the Pacific. I've worked on the Pacific Islands in my second year in the bank. And then since my third year in the bank, I've been working mostly on Indonesia and Timor-Leste. So in about 5 years since I joined the bank, I've worked on Caribbean, I've worked on Indonesia, Timor-Leste, and the Pacific. That's very exciting. It's one of those opportunities that the YP provides, that you can work on different countries, but also you can work in different sectors. So even within your sector, there are different multiple sectors that you can work in that makes your work very dynamic. For example, when I joined the bank, I started working on the blue economy, and then I also work on pollution, but I have also done some work on institutional strengthening. I've also done some work on forests, on forestry. So you see, even within the environment sector, there are so many things that you could do. I'm also working on climate change, specifically as a development agenda. So you can do a lot. So expect that your work will not be boring, that it will always challenge you. Even if you do the same set of activities, the fact that you are doing it in a different country with the regular rotations that you have at the bank, because after the YP program, you get a 5-year contract. You probably are stationed then in one region or in one department, and after 5 years, you have to rotate again to another region, to another unit, to another department. That excites you. That gives you the opportunity to do different things that you don't have one. I mean, as you would have in many other careers, one boring job all the days of your career. So that is something that you can look forward to in the YP program. Thanks.
Right, thank you. So there's like a follow-up question to Paniti on the technical and the recruitment technical. So the first one is that does the internship also consider as a working experience, or like what will be like the working experience specify? Is it only full-time employment, also like a part-time, or like internships? And of course, like the second one is that there's a question, how about the STC, how about the current STC or STC, ETC, or STT at the World Bank? Is it considered as at the World Bank Group employee? Because in your slides, you mentioned about the applicants must not be a current World Bank Group employee during the application process. And the third one, I know that the YP is extremely competitive. So what are the programs that are available for Indonesians to join the World Bank Group? I know that there is that the JPI program is not exist anymore. So how about joining the World Bank Group other than the YP?
Okay. Thank you. So the internship experience also counted as an experience as well. So even though it's not a full-time job, so if it's relevant to the position, to the work program that you're applying for, so that, yes, so it is important. Also, even volunteer work also can be considered if it's really direct relevant to the work program. So for example, if you work with the ocean saving team, for example, and you apply for climate change and things like that, something that really show your passion for the work program that you're applying for, I think it's critical. It doesn't have to be a full-time job, it can be volunteer, it can be internship as well. The second question on the ST, and I think it's updated this year, that it includes STC as well, that not eligible to apply for the YP program. You'll be used to allow for that, but now it's been updated. But I will have to check to get back on the cooling off. If you have been, what's the cooling off period? It doesn't say, but so I have to get back to you on that. And the third one, other opportunities to join the bank. You can join as we have the internship program in Washington, D.C. that for graduate of a bachelor degree, that's the internship that's available. And it's usually open around January, February, the application period around January, February of every year. And the internship period is for the summer break of the US school calendars, which is around May, June to August, September. So it depends on the unit that's hiring. And also you can join the bank as STC. So for a newly grad, we sometimes hire staff as short-term temp, and you come in to help with project administration. And so as STC, if you have a master degree, we hire master degree, sometimes join as an analyst to the team. And if you are PhD, for example, we also hire STC in a special expertise area to help the project team with certain area that they need help for, that they need the local expertise. And also you can join as term staff.
Right. Thank you so much, Paniti. So I just want to explore more on the qualifications that I think that there are a couple of questions on. They see that this year's YP does not open for all operations track, but when they try to filling out the application form, they are asked of the second and third option for the track. So, for instance, in the planet, only include environment and water as the first options, and for the climate is showing as the second option. That also applies for the legal stream that is not currently listed as one of the open YP programs, but available as second or third options. Can you clarify on this current new operation functions that's open for the first choice program, the second or third options, Paniti?
So so every year is not the same. So we're now doing the specific track, right? And so the business will notify the YP team what which area they are hiring for. So not all tracks are available for every year. And so the first option would be something that you have the right fit for that first track. So you choose your first track that way. And the non-operations track also available, but it's not all of them are available this year either. It depends on the business need that coming up. So do target for the first option But also second option, if you have some requirement for the second option, do put it in as a second option as well, because sometimes when you being interviewed for the second option and you show competencies for different areas and they see your potential in other areas, you can be recommended for other areas as well. I had experience of applicants that did really well in the interview, even though maybe the requirement doesn't really fit with that track that he or she was interviewing for. But given the high potential, he or she was recommended for another job, or even for initially to join as an STC, that the panel saw the qualification and recommend for another team that was looking for STC, or for another team that was looking for term staff, things like that. So do make use of the three options that are available for you to choose from the application.
Yeah, thank you, Panitia. And I think that is also related to craft the right cover letter. So I think that this is follow-up questions for Panitia and both Bramka and Alda. So I think that in the cover letter, like for the question in 250 words or less, outlining the qualifications for the work program as you selected. So I think that for Panitia as the recruiters, should the applicants only mention the first preference, or like, and emphasize it more like detailed on your first preference, or it can be about their second or third as well? And for Bramka and Alda, what's your experience in crafting the cover letter? Is it you mentioned only your first preference back then, or you also mentioned your second and third option as well? Paniti, maybe you can go first.
I think you can first option should be the priority and up the in the CV and the expression of interest, but you can touch on a little bit that on the second option as well. But I think the priority should be the first option. And hopefully the second option is somewhat relevant, related to the first option, right? So it's like the whole story of your career.
All right. Maybe
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Bramka
that
and
does
Alda.
make sense. That does make sense, actually. And Alda, Bramka, you mentioned about the using star framework to answer the questions in the application. So, what does your experience? Do you put your first preference, or you also put second or third preference as well?
I put my first preference, and then being interviewed with the first preference all over, the process. But for me, I prepared for 3 of them, just in case.
All right.
So in my case, I think in my time there were only 2 options, so I could only say 2 preference, or was it 3? I forget. But eventually at the end, I only put 2 preferences. And the fun thing is that my first preference was actually climate change. Second was disaster risk management, and these 2 are separate sectors or separate units within the World Bank. And the fun thing is that all my applications focus on climate change, not on disaster risk management. Of course, I have experience in flood risk management in my CV, but that was not what I highlighted. My highlight, as I show in my headline, brand, was climate change adaptation specialist. During the panel interview, I was interviewed by staff from climate change, environment, and agriculture. But eventually I got into my second preference, which is disaster risk management, not my preference. So this is just to show you that there is some uncertainty, because at the end, even though you excel in your application interview assessment, at the end they will need to match you with the business needs. If the business needs, if the units who are looking for YPs are in your second preference, then it is quite likely you will get your second preference. But then again, for the essay and CV, I would suggest that you frame it for your first reference preference, but then always have some words related to your second preference, either in your at least in your CV, if not your on your motivation letter, because the essay or motivation letter is normally quite very condensed, just like 400 words or 500 words, something like that. So you may not be able to tell everything.
All right.
Sorry, I just want to add.
Yep, sure.
So at least for me, when I got accepted, it's all based on the first preference. But for some reason, before the offer letter, the second preference reached out to me, and then I have to do another interview with them, like 2 or 3 times with their team. So in my mind, I thought I didn't get my first preference, although I got accepted to the YP. So that's, you just have to gone through that. And then the second preference apparently accepted, but eventually when I started, they matched me with the first preference. So I don't know what's going on in the background, but yeah, second preference could reach out to you after get selected and do the interview as well.
All right. Thank you, Paniti, Alda, and Bramka for.
May I add
Sorry.
something about
Yeah,
this?
sure.
If
Sure,
that's okay.
David.
Yeah, I think also as an applicant, maybe you don't want to be too concerned about which practice group you enter the bank. The bank career is very fluid. In my cohort, there was somebody that started at the World Bank, got hired to the World Bank, and went for a rotation at the IFC and didn't come back to the bank. So I have also somebody in my cohort that started in the water practice group and within 2 years moved to urban and risk management practice group, the same practice group as a Bramka. So it's very fluid. You could start as an economist working on education, and 5 years down the line, you might be an economist working on health, economist working on another sector. So the most important thing is that you are hired. At the bank, all the practice groups do very good work, and your career will be just fine.
All right. Thank you, Paniti, Alda, Bramka, and David for your insightful discussions on applying for the YP program. I think that we already goes beyond the time limits. We sure it was an interesting discussion. So for today. We heard stories from Carrie, David, and other YPs, and of course we heard technical tips to apply for the YP programs from Paniti, Bramka, and Alda. I think that if you have, of course, that there's a lot of questions that we cannot answer on this occasion, and I think that Alda is opening her LinkedIn account for anyone to reach out for her. And I don't know if Bramka is anyone can contact you through LinkedIn or any social media or something.
Yeah, you sure you can search for my name on LinkedIn. Should be only one Bramka Gajavino. So you
Sure.
won't miss it.
Thank you. So everyone, please contact Alda and Bramka through LinkedIn if you have any couple of questions.
I'm also on LinkedIn if you have more questions.
Sure. All right. Yeah.
Look
please,
forward to interviewing Indonesian in Bangkok next year.
Hopefully, Bu Paniti. Hopefully. Yeah. So everyone, as you heard from our distinguished panelists, that they are opening their LinkedIn account. So please follow their LinkedIn, Alda Ardelia, Bramka Arga Yavino, and Paniti Chuan Rudemo in their LinkedIn account. So I think so. I will conclude the session that again the World Bank is a diverse unit. It is a fluid organization that you are not only from the economist background, but someone from researcher, investment bankers, even like academia can work at the World Bank through the YP program and the other programs as well. So I think that it's time for us Indonesians to elevate our role in the global stage, including the World Bank, as Bu Dirjen and Bu Kari mentioned, as we are seeking more Indonesian perspective, as we know that Indonesia has already led a couple of leadership role at the World Bank, including hosting including hosted the 2018 Bali IMF World Bank Annual Forum, and then the co-initiated the 2022 the Pandemic Fund during the G20 meeting. So I think it's an indication that the Indonesia is ready to take another high level step in the global role. And I think it's time for us Indonesians to fill that shoes at the World Bank, and I hope one of them are among in this virtual room. Okay, I think that we can conclude the sessions. Thank you again for everyone, Ibu Carrie, David K, Weil, and of course Paniti, Alda, and Bramka, and I conclude this sessions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Hope it was useful. Yeah, looking forward to see you at the World Bank. Bye.